This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Tune in to 93.7 The Ticket as soon as the clock hits zero for the Jay Foreman postgame show. Listen to expert analysis from the Husker Hall of Famer, an 8-year NFL veteran for 90 minutes after the game. The Jay Foreman postgame show, sponsored by Tanner's Bar and Grill, Vinny Creekat, and Action Plumbing, Heating, AC, and Electrical on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. This is Sunday Rewind.
Take it back now, y'all.
Down, flip it and reverse it.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Now, here are your hosts, Tom Stevens and Mike Melby.
Welcome in, kids. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby, Husker Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7. Nebraska, of course, coming off a loss to Michigan State, 20 to 17. 3 turnovers from Nebraska, minus 12 now on the season. Heinrich Harburg obviously had a tough day, 2 picks and a fumble as Nebraska falls to a team that had lost 6 in a row. But now it's on to Maryland, a team that has been beaten badly, was beaten badly yesterday by Penn State, 51 to 15.
They were crushed.
But you look at the numbers, Talia Tungavailoa still played pretty well. He didn't throw a pick. He threw for 286 yards, but they ran for minus 7 in that game.
Yeah, he got sacked 8 times, 7 or 8 times.
Maryland has struggled to run the football, which gives me hope. If you can make them one-dimensional, it didn't help against Colorado. And I know Nebraska sometimes struggles against really good quarterbacks, and this is a really good quarterback, but it's also a really good opportunity. You haven't seen the line yet, have you?
Maryland is favored by 2.5.
Do you like that?
Yeah, I actually think it's a good line, accurate line based on.
But they've lost, 4 in a row after winning their first 5.
Yeah.
This happens with Mike Locksley teams every single year.
It does seem to.
They start out 4-0, 5-0, sometimes 6-0, it seems like, and then they just melt.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that's coming from. I thought they were a really good football team. And in many cases, I think earlier in the year, I thought they were the 4th best team in the league. And now I don't know what to make of the Maryland Terrapins, but I do know they have a really good quarterback. Nebraska now tied for 2nd in the West. Iowa's taken command of the lead in the Big 10 West at 4-2, 7-2 overall. It's funny that they just fired their offensive coordinator, allowed to coach the rest of the games. And then you have Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Nebraska all at 3-3.
Well, and on the Husker Extra Hour, Tom Chattel pointed out that Nebraska and Iowa both control their own destinies here.
They do.
Because if Nebraska beats Iowa, they win the tiebreaker as long as they don't lose any more games. So they, like, if Nebraska wins out,
Minnesota has
be
the
Big Ten
head-to-head
West.
on a few teams.
Yeah, but Minnesota is now assuming Minnesota that's the caveat. Minnesota has to lose to Ohio State.
That's right.
Which you assume will happen.
Well, you would assume that would happen.
So with that caveat, then Nebraska and Iowa control their own destinies. If one of those 2 teams wins out, they're winning the West.
Yep.
So,
well, the good news is nobody's very good. And even Iowa, that's pretty good defensively, is atrocious offensively. That game with Northwestern set the game of football, as almost every Iowa game does, back 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
They are terrible offensively, but really, really good defensively. Let's get to the opening kickoff. Here it is.
Oklahoma. The Sooners are in white. We are in Lincoln, Nebraska, and we are ready to go.
Thanks, Keith. We are ready to go. I'm going to go with breaking news. It's not brand new. It broke about an hour and a half ago. But Amy Williams has got herself probably the best player that may have ever come out of Nebraska girls volleyball.
Like basketball.
Basketball.
Yeah, this is the second, I think, 5-star ever.
Yeah.
I was thinking Jessica
Shepard
might have been, but I think Taylor Kissinger was a 5-star as well.
Might have been. And I'm not slighting Alexis Markowski here because she's one of the best to
Big
ever
Ten
play.
freshman of the year.
Yeah, she's one of.
But she was under-recruited coming out of high school.
But
in fact, changed from Colorado State or something like that to Nebraska on signing day.
Yeah, Britt Prince, though, out of Elkhorn North, commits to Amy Johnson and the Nebraska women's basketball team. She is a difference maker. She's a 5'11" point guard. What is it? Caitlin Young, what's her name over in Iowa?
Yeah.
This is literally who you're getting. She's insane.
Caitlin Clark.
Yes, thank you. Caitlin Clark. Britt Prince, though, is all that and a couple of bags of chips. I mean,
like chips.
Unbelievably talented young lady. And she's committed to Amy Williams and Nebraska volleyball. Also breaking here in the last couple of hours, not really surprising news out of L.A. Lincoln Riley has fired his defensive coordinator, Alex Grinch. He stole their defense. Get it? So Alex Grinch, though, he's got his original job to fall back on to mess with Christmas.
They are awful defensively.
I was watching that game yesterday, and it was genuinely like watching Nebraska with Kevin Cosgrove as a DC.
They can't stop you or me.
No.
I'm pretty sure I could run for 100 yards on USC's defense.
Guarantee it. You alluded to it on Monday. Iowa interim AD Beth Gates announced that Brian Ferentz will not return next season as the offensive coordinator. Evidently, Kirk Ferentz is not thrilled with this because why are you firing my son? We're 7-2. Our offense is amazing. Whatever, but he will not be back next year, nor will he be with the program.
No.
In any capacity.
Isn't it a little weird that they fire him, but they let him finish out the season?
Yeah. Whatever.
I wonder, though, be careful, Iowa, what you wish for, because we've seen this at Nebraska. You got rid of Frank Solich. You got rid of Bo Pelini, and it didn't necessarily go well after that. And you might be on the fringe. You fire his son, I wouldn't put it past Kirk to say, well, screw all of you. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And maybe they want him to leave.
They might.
I mean, he's, I think, the longest tenured coach in college football.
Yep.
Head coach.
Yep.
So
99, I believe.
Yeah. And so, I wouldn't put it past him to just say, you know what? I'm done.
Yep. On Thursday, the Nebraska soccer team lost in the semifinals of the Big Ten tournament to Wisconsin 3-1. NCAA tournament selection show is tomorrow at 3 p.m. live streamed on NCAA.com. Props to Nebraska head coach John Walker and the entire team. Eleanor Dale should be, I think, player of the year in the NCAA. We'll see how that all shakes out. Friday night, the Big Ten Network premiered The Big Story, Nebraska volleyball, right after the Nebraska-Penn State volleyball match, which saw the Huskers win their 22nd in a row. And trying to tear down from Halloween, fight the cold or whatever from being out in the cold,
right there with
all that stuff. I forgot to record it, and I was actually out, of course, in the freezing cold on Friday night instead of watching this at a haunted house that did a special deal.
Right.
At any rate, we'll talk about volleyball in a second, but for those that had a chance to watch The Big Story Nebraska volleyball, let us know how it went. 402-464-5685 on the Honda of Lincoln hotline or Starter Heyman text line. And for those of you live streaming on the Starter Heyman live stream, it's on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, as well as Allo Channel 951. Nebraska baseball added what will more than likely be their last two commits for the 2024 class when Cannon Sundgren and Drew Duckhorn committed to the Huskers last Thursday. Both are JUCO players. Sundgren is a catcher who hit .417 last spring, and Duckhorn is a left-handed pitcher. And last but not least, in the kickoff outside of Nebraska volleyball and their incredible weekend that we're going to talk about in a second, massive shout out to all of my fellow Texas Rangers fans. After years of suffering, your team is now World Series champs. You are no longer the longest running franchise without a championship in professional sports in America.
And they've been good for a long time. I mean, not recently, but they've always spent a lot of money, it seems like, especially in recent years, on their payroll. They have a big payroll this year.
Yeah.
Didn't they? They were like one of the first in Major League Baseball. They spent like $200 million on A-Rod.
They spent $250 million on A-Rod, 10-year deal back in 2000.
That didn't work out very well.
No, well, then he decided I'm feeling pressure, and my buddy Jose Canseco says the stuff that he's going to shoot in my arm is going to make me hit more home runs and be worth the $250 million.
Hadn't heard about that.
Yeah, so at any rate, Texas was one of the most horrid teams from 2017 through 2022. Never had a winning record, and they were just abysmal. Bruce Bochy comes out of retirement, and holy crap. It was a fun ride, man. I didn't
That
get to
was
watch
great.
all the games, but yeah, yay, go Rangers.
Congratulations
back to back.
you and your Rangers. I mean, you deserve it because you've stuck with since I've known you. It's been what? How long?
30 years for you and me.
Yeah.
I very first game I ever went to, Ferguson Jenkins was the pitcher for the Rangers, and Toby Harrah was second baseman, and he hit a 2-run home run in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs.
Wow.
To win the game over the Cleveland Indians 2-1. This is back when they were playing in the old AAA ballpark where you could hit it out of the stadium.
Yeah.
It hit the front windshield of a car like 4 cars down in the same row that my dad's car was in.
Wow, that's kind of cool.
So that's my first memory of Major League Baseball. So I'm a diehard Texas Rangers fan.
If you told me George Brett broke my windshield, I would think that was the coolest thing in the world.
There you go.
I would never fix that thing.
Yeah, sorry, Ossifer. But I mean, George Brett broke my window. He'd probably say, if he's a Royals fan, he'd be like, never mind. I'm going to give you a police escort. Where are you going?
I seriously would not fix that windshield. Toby Harrah did, but by your dad's car.
But I think it was 4 cars down from it. Same row too. Like if it would have been another 20 feet to the left of where it landed, it would have hit the dad's car. So,
is that it? Are you done?
Just real quick, I got to talk a little bit about the now 23-0 Nebraska volleyball team. 5-set thriller on Friday night. Nebraska's only gone to 5 sets once in the first 21 matches this season. Penn State made the Huskers work for win number 22, though. They took the first 2 sets 25-15, 25-23. Nebraska storms back. They win the third 25-18, fourth 25-20, and then 15-13 in the fifth. Merritt Beeson, if she's not National Player of the Week again after her performance there and her 21 kill performance today
with 2 errors. With 2 errors.
Yeah. Just insane. At any rate, on Friday night as well, Harper Murray, 15 kills, hit 379. Becca Alec, 11 kills on 21 swings, hit it a 381 clip. She also had 5 blocks today against Rutgers. They sweep them 25, 15, 20, and 18. Beeson, 21 kills, 9 digs, 5 blocks. Batenhorst, 11 kills, 7 digs, 2 blocks. And Becca Alec, 7 kills and 5 blocks. I mean, they are dangerous. They are one of the most fun volleyball teams, college volleyball teams to watch ever.
I mean, and that's not an overstatement. It doesn't feel like, because they're just so good. And they've added Beeson, who I didn't think was going to be, despite the fact that she was named captain within, 2 weeks of being on campus. And she was the SEC player of the year at Florida. I didn't think she would be the best. For some reason, I didn't think she would be the best player on this team. She's the best player on this team.
I still think Lexi Rodriguez is the best player on the team.
Well, yeah, a libero. How could you have certainly a good argument for that? But she's the most valuable player on this team. And maybe you could even argue Lexi there because she does everything. She had 11 assists, I believe, on Friday night.
Yeah.
She plays so well. But Beeson just is that glue. She's so confident. She talks a lot about, you know what? I love the Devaney Center. I'd almost rather play on the road.
Yeah.
She just loves, and she's not just saying that. She means it. She loves being, in a hostile environment like Happy Valley.
Well, and the one thing that I guess I sit there and I look at and I watch, and I can't wait to talk to Tanya Taki about this next hour. Harper Murray may be the most raw talented player on the team. Maybe. Because there's a ton of them that you could make an argument.
Oh, I think that's correct.
But the flip side is, I think Harper Murray is going to be a better player as a junior and senior than she would have been if Merritt Beeson would not have been her teammate as a freshman and a sophomore.
Yeah. It reminds me of the 90s. We go back to this all the time. Those teams were so good in part because they're playing against such great players every day, that if you don't bring it every day in practice, and this is what it is with volleyball as well, you'll simply have your job taken away. It's like, in many cases, they're not going to see anything better than what they see Monday through Friday in practice or Monday through Thursday in practice. And so they get to the game and it's not scary at all because they've already seen the scary all week long.
Yeah.
This is a fun team to watch, and they're just so deep. Becca Alec had a great game. Andy Jackson played well. Batenhorst was a little bit on and off. I think she almost needs Krause to come back and have that competition resume between the two of them. But you mentioned Murray, 15 kills, and Merritt Beeson with the 27 kills ties Michaela Fecky. from 2018 with 27.
Well, and Merritt Beeson reminds me of the Jordan Larson, Michaela Fecky, the hitter that just simply says, "That's my back. Jump on. Let's go."
Yeah.
I mean, there were times that they simply took over matches, and I mean, everybody knew it. Everybody on the other side of the court knew where the set was going and whether the set was perfect or imperfect. If it needed to be just a nice little tip, if it needed to be an absolute hammer, whatever.
Yeah.
If it needed to go down the line, if it needed to find the donut shop, whatever the case may be, they always came up with the perfect attempt at a hit.
And they played a team that was red hot in that first and second set. I mean, Penn State played almost perfect volleyball, but Nebraska just didn't get rattled. It's the first time, or the last time they've come back from down 2-0 was in 2021 against Ohio State. But Merritt Beeson, as you mentioned, 27 kills, 6 in the fifth set. She hit 426, but they're loaded throughout that lineup. Murray played well. Becca Alec played well. You had Andy Jackson. Of course, you always get that kind of performance, it seems like, from Lexi Rodriguez, 13 digs, 11 set assists. So she really played well. Bergen Riley, we don't even mention her because she'd become so automatic at 7.
She's so Kelly Hunter-esque, it's scary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Who's her coach? Final from not too long ago, final in West Lafayette in 5 sets, 25-17, 25-15, 21-25, 20-25, and in the fifth set, 15-12, winning over Penn State, Purdue.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I think Purdue's 19th in the country, but they come up with a massive Sunday afternoon home win.
Nebraska should get 2 more wins this week, you would think. They've got Northwestern and Illinois, so you'd think they would improve to 25-0. At this point, you're 23-0. You might as well just go undefeated this year.
I think that's the goal.
I don't remember the last team to do that, but I can't believe that there's a lot that have done that, especially in this day and age of rally scoring. Maybe.
Whoa.
Wait,
computer making
you
all kinds
fart?
of weird
No,
noises.
that wasn't neither one of us. There you go. He's Mike Melby.
Fun with sound effects on 93.7 The Ticket on Husker Rewind.
He's Mike Melby. He sat in on Husker Extra. Nice job.
Thanks.
Sam McEwen,
Good guys
of course,
to have
and
on,
Tom
too.
Chattel precede our show every Sunday from 4 until 5, and then we take over from 5 until 7. We'll talk a little bit about Husker basketball. They tip it off, their first game of the season, Lindenwood, tomorrow night at the Devaney Center. We've got Tanya Taki on the show. But next, it's Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7. We'll talk a little Husker football and Vikings football. If you missed it today, what a comeback from the Minnesota Vikings, from a quarterback who just signed like on Tuesday. Tell you about that and talk to Mike Schaefer coming up next. It's Husker Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7, right here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Gaina Trucking is hiring CDL Class A and B drivers. Gaina Trucking guarantees a 40-hour work week year-round, and their strong team culture makes it not a job, but a career. Gaina Trucking offers health, vision, and dental insurance, 401k with company match, an employee assistance program, and other bonus programs. Build a better career today with great team culture at Gaina Trucking. Learn more and apply today at GainaTrucking.com.
College football in Lincoln, America. The time has come. Start your game day off right with the A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show. Join the Ticket crew as they bring you all the coverage you need to get you ready for the action. It's the A1 Automotive Ticket Tailgate pregame show, powered by Sunbelt Rentals. Ben Bleicher with Professional Realty Group of BHHS Ambassador, Select Plumbing, Jimmy John's, Lincoln Wall-to-Wall Wine and Spirits, Fleet Feet, Yours Cheese Spread on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Ashiro's work is never done. You care for the house, the kids, and our future. We're so grateful for all you do. Now it's time to care for yourself and save a little more for retirement. A free 3-minute online chat can give you the personalized tips you need to boost your retirement savings now. Visit aceyourretirement.org/Shiro today.
A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
How is your job to school? Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. There are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
School bus drivers, custodians, paraeducators, and the list goes on of all the education support professionals who help every school in Nebraska run smoothly. They ensure that our students have a safe ride to school, healthy meals, and a clean environment to learn. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Take a moment to say thank you to the support staff at your child's school.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby, Husker Rewind every Sunday, 5 to 7. Huskers fall in a tough one to Michigan State over the weekend. But I know my buddy, Mike Schaefer, is celebrating a big win, a Vikings win today, 31-28 over the Atlanta Falcons. The first start, well, it wasn't even a start for Joshua Dobbs. He came off the bench after being in Minnesota for a couple of days, just learning the playbook. Comes off the bench, throws 2 TDs, runs for another, and one of the best regular season Viking wins I've ever seen. What about you, Mike?
Well, we have to actually start with those first possessions. He takes a safety that's one of the dumber safeties that you'll see in the NFL, and I'm like, oh, this guy's an aerospace engineer?
That's right.
Like, we're going to let him work at Lockheed Martin? Is that what we're really going to do
right.
here when he's done with the NFL? But no, that was an incredible performance. At like 7 different times, I'm like, well, the game's over, and it's like, what can you do? What realistically can you expect when you have to play a quarterback that has been on your team for 5 days and you don't have your left tackle, you don't have your number 1 wide receiver, you don't have your number 3 wide receiver. Like realistically, what is he going to be able to do? And it turns around, it turns out, Tom, having a guy that can just run around a lot is really helpful in today's NFL. Right. We haven't seen it a lot with Kirk, not like a big part of his game. But, Josh Dobbs just being able to magically avoid every Falcons pass rush was a huge part of today.
That was
So,
incredible. It was 4th and 7. He was tackled 4 times, and you thought the game's over. Like you said, I thought it was over 5 or 6 different times. But on that last play, they have him dead to rights. He is able to escape it and gets a big gain all the way down to something like the 10, 15-yard line. And then a couple plays later, he throws the touchdown to win it. That was fun. That was fun as a Vikings fan. I'm not saying this guy could lead us to the Super Bowl, but this guy could lead us to the Super Bowl, Mike. Get your tickets.
I would be happy if he just leads them to a playoff game at this point. Like I'm not a tank and give away the season guy.
Yeah.
I'm not I don't like losing. I don't care about when you're picked in the draft. You know, there's talent throughout a draft. Figure out your quarterback situation that way, that kind of thing. Yeah. But you know, I like playoff games, and maybe they can get into a playoff game and pull an upset. Like that's what I want.
Well, I was a tank and get a great quarterback in the draft guy, and then I saw Dobbs today, and I thought, well, to heck with that. Let's just go win the Super Bowl.
Bring them both back. Have Cousins and Dobbs.
There you go.
Dual quarterback system.
There you go. Nebraska falls. They needed that one win to get to 6 to a team that had lost 6 in a row, but they fall to Michigan State 20-17. It was not a great day for the quarterback, Heinrich Harburg. He has 3 turnovers. A fumble. Could have been even worse than that at times. But how did you see that game? Did you see that as a big missed opportunity for Nebraska?
Yeah, it just kind of felt like one of those games where Nebraska showed up and it didn't seem like they were in condition to match the effort from Michigan State from the opening possession. And it just always felt like they were playing a little from behind. And, you know, I think they led 7-3 at one point and all of that, or 10-3, whatever it was. But, you know, it just wasn't. It wasn't a game where you ever felt like Nebraska was taking it to Michigan State, that Nebraska had the upper hand. You know, if you remove records from that game and you watch the whole thing and it finished, you're like, yeah, it sounds about right. Because it looked like Michigan State was the aggressor. It looked like Michigan State really kind of came out, and whether it was because of Harlan Bennett trying to get his first win, or Alante Brown being a former Husker, or whatever it was, there was a little bit more emotion, a little bit more juice with what they were doing things. And, you know, and I think it played out in a variety of ways. I mean, everybody wants to talk about Heinrich Harburg, and he had a bad game. Like he needs to play better. But the reality is I don't think that there's any change coming at that position. What bothered me about Saturday is Nebraska's strategy on special teams was just flawed from the onset. I mean, you put in a guy for the sole purpose of catching a punt, and the other team figured it out by the second punt. And then they just told their punter, don't worry about hang time. Don't worry about any of it. Kick it as far as you can. And he did. And Nebraska gave up field position over and over. And then Billy Kemp's catching the ball inside the 10-yard line and not even giving you the opportunity to see if it can get into the end zone. And Nebraska's built like a team right now that you're not going to sustain a lot of drives. But with Tristan Alvano hitting a 55-yarder last week, you know, at least give yourself a chance, start at the 25 and get 40 yards and give yourself an opportunity to potentially kick a long field goal. And that's kind of what Michigan State did. It just felt like, I wouldn't say that Matt Rule got out-coached, because I don't think that's what happened. Nebraska just didn't execute. But I didn't like the strategy at special teams. I really felt like, as much as everybody wants to talk about Heinrich Harburg, and again, he didn't have a good game. He could have played better. There's no question about that. But I also don't think you're in position to even be talking about it being a one-score loss without his 40-some-yard touchdown run. He's the only guy on the team that can do that for them. I don't think Jeff Sims could have done that in that situation. Athletically, maybe. But I just don't think he's that version of a playmaker right now. I don't know what Jeff Sims was going to be for Matt Rule, but I think that has all passed. And this is sort of where you are. So you have to figure out how to win with Heinrich Harburg and how to build an offense around it and everything else. And they just couldn't do it on Saturday.
Well, and I want to jump back, Mike, to your comment about Billy Kemp being back there just a fair catch, because there was probably 3 punts that he fair caught that there was nobody within 15, 20 yards of him. And then that final punt that Michigan State has, you see Ethan Nation back there, who we've heard is electric. Whatever. Why not take the chance early on? If he fumbles, then you've got Kemp to come in and fair catch the rest of the game. But
yeah, I'm
give him a
100%
chance
with you. If you're going to put Billy Kemp, or excuse me, if you're going to put Ethan Nation in that situation where securing the ball is paramount to give you an opportunity to come back, because you're only going to get one possession, right?
Yeah.
Or theoretically. Somehow Nebraska had like 47 possessions with 3 minutes left to go in that game. I don't know how. That seems remarkable. But, you know, I'm 100% with you on that. Like, why not give Ethan Nation that opportunity and give yourself a chance? Like, when Matt Rule got here and he talked about, we want our guys to return. We want a big play out of special teams. That has really flipped and no more evident than it was on Saturday, where the fact that you don't let Billy Kemp play wide receiver and he's only there to catch punts. I have never really experienced anything like that. And I honestly, it's the first real big miscall of the Matt Rule era. And, it's just something that they experience and they learn from, and they're going to be better for it. And I'm certainly not one of the fans that right now feels like Nebraska is destined to go 5-7 because they didn't beat Michigan State. I think we're going to get a better performance when they come home against Maryland. I think they're going to be a focused, energized team. I'm not worried about that. I'm really not. Like, it just felt like it was one of those days in college football that you get that happens sometimes. And Michigan State, they're playing at home. It's senior day. It felt like they had a reason to be there. And Nebraska didn't take them out of the game early enough. And Nebraska let them hang around, and Nebraska let them dictate the terms. And, there's a lot of misfires in that game, but I don't think there's any long-term effects that I'm super concerned about.
Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7, our guest. I agree that it's probably Harburg's job to lose, but I wouldn't mind taking a peek. Not at Sims so much, but maybe Chubba Purdy.
What? Okay, so explain. I saw this a lot yesterday. I saw it on my message board. I watched 47 horrific passes from Chubba Purdy last year.
I did too.
I know he doesn't have the arm to throw a 40-yard pass when he needs to. Every team in America is going to play Nebraska with 8 guys in the box. Why in the world do you want to see Chubba Purdy out there, Tom? I just sell me on.
Well, because
sell me on Chubba Purdy.
Well, I know that Mr. Whipple, don't squeeze the Charmin guy, last year loved him and didn't like Harburg at all. And I know he didn't play well, and he threw some picks when he was in there. But we're already seeing that from Harburg. We're already seeing it from Sims. Why not just see what he's got? Sometimes I'm not saying start him, but sometimes just bring a guy in, maybe can give you a spark.
Yeah, I have never seen a quarterback like Chubba Purdy that when he's been put on the field, and it happened again in the Colorado game, I think, when he was put out there, the camera zooms in on his face. He looks scared, Tom. I just don't think that he can play football at this level. I know that he had a nice game or two at Florida State. There's nothing I saw last year, and there's nothing that I've seen from him or heard behind the scenes that makes me think that he's capable of playing Big Ten football. I just don't think he has it. If you want to try someone else, I'm more on board with seeing what Jeff Sims is capable of doing, but I don't know where he's at this point. It feels like he's being a great team cheerleader and a leader in that regard. But I don't know if mentally he's at the point where he's maybe done with football. I don't know. I think they're in a situation where it's just Heinrich Harburg. And honestly, they need him to stay healthy, because if he gets hurt, then I think the drop-off is severe enough without Heinrich Harburg's ability to run the football that I don't know how they would even move it. And maybe Jeff Sims could come in and rekindle that magic. But I don't see it with Chubba Purdy. Again, 22 of 47 for 136 yards and 3 interceptions. I would be more than happy not seeing him play again. I just don't think he belongs at this level. I really don't. I don't like being this negative about any individual player, but seeing the amount of people that are like, well, why not give him a chance? He's not good. I don't give it. I almost said something that would have caused you to hit the dump button. But I don't care what Mark Whipple thinks about Chubba Purdy. Mark Whipple isn't here.
Yeah.
He doesn't matter. He's the reason that Heinrich Harburg's development's further behind than it should have been in the first place. And so what he thinks about Chubba Purdy isn't reflective of anything, because Chubba Purdy wasn't good enough last year. He had opportunity. Did he even throw for 100 yards in a single game? And oh, by the way, you have man-to-man coverage with Trey. Do you know what Trey Palmer would mean to this Nebraska team right now?
Oh, my goodness.
Heinrich Harburg is not very good, but you give him Trey Palmer and man-to-man coverage in an 8-man box, that's going to score some points. Chubba Purdy doesn't have that this year, and he couldn't do it last year either.
Well, the only counterpoint I have to that is Alex Bullock was open by about 25 yards, and Harburg couldn't hit him.
Sure, but I also think Alex Bullock ran the round route. So,
and that
I think it was a route tree situation, and he went straight. Harburg thought he was going with the post. I think Harburg released the ball before the guy slipped, and Bullock kept going straight because he was running away from a defender. Yeah. It was just one of those. I think it was a miscommunication. But, yeah, I mean, it's not – trust me, I'm not trying to sell anyone on the Heinrich Harburg passing experience right now. But I also know I don't need to see Chubba Purdy play again. I really don't.
Fair enough. Okay. I want to jump ahead to next week because I have trepidation because of Tulia Tagovailoa and his abilities, and I have a lot of encouragement because he was sacked 8 times yesterday. And something that Nebraska defensively does pretty well this year is get to the quarterback. What are your thoughts going into that game? Nebraska's pass rush versus that Maryland offensive line.
Yeah, I would really like to see Prince Will be healthy. I think there's a little bit of a gap with Nebraska's pass rush when they don't have Prince Will and they don't have Cam Lenhart available to go off the edge and kind of work off of what Nash and Ty Robinson can do in terms of eating up some of these offensive linemen, because I think those guys are capable of winning one-on-ones. I think James Williams can too, but it felt like at times Nebraska wasn't able to get enough pressure on Michigan State. Now, Michigan State's offensive line situation may be a little bit better than Maryland. Any trepidation I have right now is because I can never pronounce Tulia Tagovailoa's name correctly, so I want to make sure that I do that at least. But I think really my concern is they have athletes at the wide receiver position that Nebraska hasn't faced all year. And so I am a little concerned. Maybe Colorado is probably the closest example of this. Like, I think Colorado and Maryland are probably pretty similar teams, in all honesty. Maryland hasn't beat a team that I think has over 2 wins this year. They feasted on the first half of their schedule, and they've really struggled since then. And I think it's a good matchup for Nebraska in a mental standpoint. But they're going to need their secondary to make more plays than they have. That was another part of the game against Michigan State where I was a little disappointed. It felt like Nebraska's secondary, you have this team coming in that throws a lot of interceptions. Other than that early play with Tommy Hill, it didn't feel like there was a lot of opportunities for Nebraska to jump a route or to make a play. And so much of that is because it just feels like they're a good 2 steps off of where they need to be. And whether that's Quentin Newsome, Tommy Hill, Malcolm Hartzog, some of these guys got to come up and make plays against these good receivers from Maryland, because they're going to throw the ball over the yard. They're not even going to try to run. They don't care about trying to keep the balance. I think they had negative yards against Penn State this weekend. Nebraska's rush defense will force them into throwing, but can Nebraska's back end of their secondary make plays if those guys up front aren't able to get home against Tagovailoa?
Mike Schaefer, Husker 24/7. So you've got Maryland at home this week. You're at Wisconsin, then in the season with Iowa at home. Is this the best chance to get to 6 in your mind?
It's probably the one you feel best about. The Wisconsin game, if they don't have Braylon Allen, if they have Braden Locke still as their starting quarterback, I like Nebraska's chances there. But I don't know what the health situation is for either Mordecai or for Braylon Allen. It's not like Luke Fickell's just outwardly telling everybody, yeah, these guys are going to be back in a couple of weeks. We don't know. But if you're getting that version of Wisconsin, even on the road, I feel like Nebraska is going to be able to hang in there, and it would be a very big challenge. And I think the same for Iowa's offense. I think looking at that Iowa-Northwestern game, Northwestern's a much better team than I gave them credit for the day they showed up here in Lincoln. And it's shown after they played Nebraska. I mean, they played Nebraska tough, and they went out and they beat Maryland, and they probably should have beaten Iowa yesterday. So I think there's opportunities in all 3 of those games. But yeah, if you're like Mike, which one has the highest win percentage? It feels like Maryland, but I wouldn't be surprised if Nebraska won 2 out of the next 3. I don't think they're going to miss a bowl game. I think they're going to qualify for a bowl. The biggest thing is whether it's going to be 7-5 or 6-6. I'd be surprised if they won all 3. I just don't know that their offense is capable of doing that. But I think they've got at least one more win, if not 2, in them.
Most importantly, the Vikings, who started 0-3, now 5-4, and are going to the Super Bowl this year. So that's that's really good news.
Why, if Nick Foles can do it, if you and I have to sit there and watch Minnesota go up 7-0 in Philly and then lose 700-7 or whatever that was.
That's right.
2017. Why not Josh Dobbs? Why not Kevin O'Connell?
Yeah.
Why can't he be Doug Peterson?
No, there's no reason. He's an astrophysicist. I mean, he's a genius.
Yeah, well, he might be a genius, but he still should have dove out of the end zone instead of stepping backwards into that sack today for a safety.
Hey, Mike, you're allowed to have an adult beverage. Enjoy it. Skull.
All right.
All right.
I've successfully, other than almost making you hit the dump button here, and really probably unfairly tearing down Chubba Purdy. I feel like this was a pretty successful interview for us, Tom.
I thought you nailed it. I thought you hit a home run, as always. Great stuff, Mike. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good one.
There you go. One of the biggest Viking fans I know, Mike Schaefer. of Husker 24/7, a really good writer as well. It's always good to have on Mike. We haven't had him on since the preseason, so it's great to have him on this time. And still, we're going to have Tanya Taki next hour. We'll talk of Husker volleyball, but we've got to do our grades. I think that we'll do that next.
Sounds good.
Want to do the grades?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that next. Mike Melby, Tom Stevens. It's Husker Rewind. More on the way.
Okay, everybody. Ready to go caroling?
Are the people in your neighborhood nice?
Oh, you bet. Well, everybody except...
Mr. Carpenter.
Now, come on, Jim. He's just a little cranky.
Are you kidding? Last year, he chased us down the street with a rake.
I'm sure he was just having a bad day. Now, here's his house. Everybody smile and get ready to run.
Well, hello, everyone. It's so great to see you all.
Are you okay, Mr. Carpenter?
Oh, yes. I just bought a bunch of Nebraska Lottery Holiday Classic scratch tickets. Until January 3rd, 2024, when you enter non-winning holiday tickets online, you have a chance to win $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000. Talk about a classic little Christmas. In fact, I'm so merry, I'd like to give you all some tickets.
Oh, what a nice gesture, Mr. Carpenter. Is there anything we can do for you?
Yeah, shovel my driveway. And don't sing.
Top prize odds vary by game.
Whether you're booking a trip to Lincoln for a football game or a volleyball weekend, the Scarlet Hotel at Innovation Campus is the place for you. The Scarlet Hotel is special on many levels, from the delicious Well and Good restaurant on the main floor to the coolest rooftop patio bar in Lincoln, the Barred Owl, on the top floor of the hotel with great views of the city and one of the coolest drink menus. Book your stay or book a staycation today at scarlethotelnebraska.com.
If you came across someone struggling with hunger, how would you recognize them? By their clothes, their age, the way they speak? Would you notice a 16-year-old boy who got his first job,
not for extra spending money, but to help feed his little sisters?
or a mother who's in between jobs and sometimes goes to bed hungry so her kids can have dinner? Or a 14-year-old girl who signs up to every after-school activity, not to make friends, but just to get something to eat? Or a retiree who fell ill and had to choose
between getting medicine or groceries.
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. People you pass by every day but never knew were hungry. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America, 200 Food Banks Strong, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
This is your captain. We are going to be experiencing some slight turbulence. Please fasten your... Oh, hold on. Just got a video of my cat.
Imagine the pilot of an airplane was as confident as you are texting and driving. Seems kind of crazy when you put it like that.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
In my opinion, Nebraska is still in the driver's seat. Wow. To win this thing. They're in the driver's seat.
That would be incredible.
If Wisconsin hadn't lost Braylon and a high ankle sprain, you don't play again that year. I mean, losing him is monumental.
It'll be interesting to see a team that's missed so many bowl games in a row, to how they could handle potentially having the mentality of being in the driver's seat.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket. This is Sunday Rewind. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back to Husker Rewind here on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. I'm Mike Melby. That's Tom Stevens. And how was your Halloween, Tom? I saw you briefly.
Your display was fantastic.
Thank you.
I wandered around Lincoln. I just kind of wanted to get an idea of how many trick-or-treaters were out.
Yeah.
And your display is awesome. I mean, describe it. It's called Shaggy's Sinister Circus.
Yep, Shaggy's Sinister Circus.
And it's fantastic. It's really intricate. What'd you have, like 300 kids stop by?
We're very confident it was over 600.
Which is crazy.
It was insane. From 5:36 was the first trick-or-treater, 10:30 was the last one. Yeah. And there was maybe 10 minutes total that we had nobody.
And you played the role of Shaggy.
Yeah, I'm Shaggy, and we had the.
It's a haunted circus. It's a creepy circus.
Yeah, and we don't do like a big haunted house type thing because the city's a little difficult to deal with, so you can't do certain things. So we don't make it like a haunted house. We're not trying to scare everybody. It's not bloody and gory. It's just kind of some eye candy.
It's fun.
Lots of animatronics and a couple startle type things. We built just a simple tunnel out of PVC and some plastic. You know that if people needed to run out of it, they could have. There's no way, nothing keeping them in. But it's just something for people to walk through. That was a huge hit. The tunnel of treats, we called it. But you had to go down the sidewalk of terror, of course, to get to the tunnel of treats. And
it was very cool.
We had fun. So,
and you said 700 kids.
We know we're over 600,
which is crazy to me because I did drive around town just trying to get an idea, and it was cold. It was a little bit cold on Halloween night. And I didn't see a lot of kids out. Maybe there were neighborhoods with a lot of kids roaming around, but our neighborhood did not have many. 40th and Old Cheney.
I would say 90% of the people that were at our place on Halloween night were not from our neighborhood.
Right, which is cool.
We've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now. We've got a little bit of a following. We also posted on a Facebook page that it caters to people that do big Christmas displays and Halloween displays and 4th of July displays and all that type of stuff. And we were on there, so I know we got a little bit of traffic from that as well. But yeah, it was absolutely insane.
It was awesome. It was fun. I'm not a big Halloween guy, but your display was awesome. It was, and the kids loved it. Obviously, just loved it.
You know what else the kids love?
What?
Grades.
They do. They like the grades.
I saw you reaching. I was like, oh, this would be a good segue.
I don't know many kids who really like grades, but we are going to do the grades. Do them every week after a Husker game. We might do it for basketball as well.
I think we can. We can figure out a way to do it.
All right. We always start with the run game, and the run game was not great. Harburg had that 43-yard gain. Emmitt Smith had the 4-yard touchdown right behind it. Nebraska ran for 148. Not terrible. 3.6 a carry. Emmitt Johnson. I called him Emmitt Smith. 13 carries, 57 yards, 4.4. I don't think he gets enough carries.
I don't either.
Anthony Grant, 9 carries, 35 yards, 3.9, a long of 16. So the run game wasn't great, but again, you can make the argument that they don't stick to it enough. And in fact, Emmitt Johnson is running well enough where he should get more than 12 or 13 carries, which seems like the amount he gets every week.
I think he should get 20 carries a game.
He's proven that he doesn't drop. He had the one fumble against Illinois.
It was a fumbled exchange.
It was an exchange thing. So I gave him a C- in the run game.
I gave him pretty much the same thing. C-. Because when they ran, I thought they were successful. I get it. Sam McEwen alluded to it on the Husker Extra Hour that it was beautiful, it was sunny, and there was no wind, and it was 50. Throw the ball. Michigan doesn't have a great pass defense. Well, Nebraska doesn't have a great passing quarterback.
No.
And what they do have is a pretty solid run game, and I just don't get why they didn't lean on it more. Whatever, that's the game plan. I'm not going to question this coaching staff and the game plans they put together, but, man, I just feel like Emmitt Johnson needs to get the rock a little bit more.
I would agree. Against the run, I gave him an A. Nathan Carter, who's a really good running back, 15 carries for 50 yards. Caton Hauser, 10 carries for only 13 yards. Michigan State overall, 63 yards, only 2 yards a carry. Nebraska, almost all the time, is good against the run, and they were great on Saturday.
Yeah, absolute A from me. I don't know what else to say about them. I mean, they understand their gap assignments. They understand when you see the line flowing to the right and you could tell the back is just waiting for that crease so many times, and Isaac Gifford is one that does it as much as anybody else. He figures out what crease they're going to try to take, and he meets them in the hole.
Yep.
It's just fantastic.
And a lot of times it's just great pursuit. A lot of times they're not in perfect position. It's great pursuit, but they always seem to be pretty good against the run. Against the pass, I gave him an F. I should say,
passing game?
The passing game, an F. 12 of 29 for Heinrich Harburg, 2 interceptions. He had a QBR of 39. I think Pro Football Focus gave him a 27 in the passing game. Fedoni did have 3 catches for 43 yards. Malachi Coleman had the 2 catches for 39 yards. There were a couple of drop balls. Coleman dropped one on a back shoulder fade that was pretty well thrown. But most of the passes were just ugly. And I gave him an F in the passing game.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whether it was miscommunication and Alex Bullock ran the wrong route, or whether it was Henrik Harburg.
That should have been caught. Bullock in one case dropped a third and 6 pass.
He did.
There were a few drops.
Yeah, and I get it. There was a pass interference that wasn't called, that Malachi Coleman got mugged and all that. But yeah, bottom line, the passing game was just, it was not good. F.
Yeah. And against the pass, I didn't think they were very good either. Michigan State, Caton Hauser, 13 of 20, 165 and a TD. Alante Brown, former Husker, had the 1 pass, the trick play for 42 yards. Sam Levitt, 1 of 2 for 25 yards and a TD. Overall, 15 of 24, 232, 2 TDs. If you're going to beat Nebraska, you got to throw the football, and they threw it really well.
Yeah, and that's all Maryland does, so next week will be interesting.
Yeah. So I gave him a D against the pass.
Yeah, I gave him a D as well. The one thing that seemed a little interesting, Alante Brown had like this chip on his shoulder, it seemed like. Yeah. And I don't know what he was told by this staff, but it didn't seem like it was expected that he was going to enter the transfer portal by the staff. And so like it was like he got run off and he was like trying to show us.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand whatever you need to do to make yourself motivated, man. I mean, hey, team's having a prayer at midfield. No, they're not. They're disrespecting the Buffalo that I've been going to school at this place for 3 months, and it's my life. Yeah. Whatever.
Alante Brown wore the number 0. Kind of like that number on him. Special teams, I gave Nebraska D-. Mike alluded to it. Billy Kemp was just out there fair catching punts, and once they figured it out, they were kicking them as far as they could. He caught a couple inside the 10. That was bad. We had no kickoff returns. Tristan Albano did hit 1 field goal from 24 yards. Bashini didn't have a great day. 5 kicks for a 35-yard average. I would have liked to have seen Ethan Nation in there earlier.
Yeah,
he had the 1 return for 4 yards, but it almost looked like he got away. He almost got away. That kid might have some potential. I'd like to see him back there.
Well, and in this game too, when a play call doesn't make sense because all you're trying to do is grind clock and your quarterback throws an interception, we hear from Matt Rule, we're trying to be aggressive and win the game. You put Billy Kemp back there to do nothing but fair catch, and he does it poorly, not because he drops the ball, but because he's catching the ball at one point at the 6-yard line. So you have no chance.
At that point, why catch it? I mean,
exactly.
I don't think that they should catch anything inside the 10.
But the point is, you want to be aggressive when you have the lead or whatever, but you're going to literally put yourself in a bind and play super safe with that part of it. I get it. Somebody could fumble, but you've got Ethan Nation, who you've talked about, is electric. Yeah. The young man is going to be spectacular, especially as a return man. Put him back there to say, hey, young man, your time to shine.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
And they always talk about, they don't say it like Frost used to, like no fear of failure, but they certainly talk about not having fear.
Yeah.
And that was a sign of fear, I thought, by just fair catching punts.
Yeah.
He explained it away. Matt Rule said that we were trying to block punts. So we were just, not really blocking for the punt return. We were trying to block punts.
There were 3 times there was no one within 20 yards of Billy Kemp, and he fair caught the ball.
Yeah. He could have crawled up there for a 15-yard gain.
Yeah. And to the other point, if he's not healthy enough to do anything but fair catch the ball, if he can't run, why is he playing? Makes no sense.
Well, he caught the balls really well.
Great.
Yeah.
Santino Panico, I think he still had a year of eligibility left. We could have just brought him in.
I love Santino Panico. So overall, I gave a D-. I just didn't, maybe that's a little harsh overall. But outside stopping the run, there wasn't many things that Nebraska did very well. So
yeah, true. Play calling, I don't get throwing the ball 30. I think they dropped back 37 times. I get it. It was a nice day to throw the ball, but again, you don't have a quarterback that throws the ball very well. No. And I think you've got whether it's Emmett Johnson or Anthony Grant, run the ball, man. Give it to your running backs.
I agree.
Don't eliminate Heinrich Harburg from the running game, but don't let him run the ball 18 times a game either.
We both would like to see the shovel pass.
Yes.
I would love to see a little more spread option with the shovel pass mixed in.
Yeah.
Short passes, screen passes.
Down on the goal line, get it to Fedoni, and at your own 25-yard line on 1st and 10 after a touchback, you know what? Try a shovel pass with Malachi or with Doss or with Lloyd. And it's somebody that that's got the speed. You block it right, they're gone.
Yeah, high percentage. So there you go. Those are the grades. Big Ten Blitz will break down every Big Ten game and then rank the teams. We do it every week. That's coming up next.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is hiring and seeking motivated applicants. Gray offers a second-to-none benefit package that includes health, dental, vision, 401k, paid vacation, and paid holidays. They offer great pay and tuition reimbursement or a tool purchase program for qualified candidates. It's a fun, friendly team with lots of variety and work assignments, so there's something for everybody. View and apply for their job openings today at grayusa.com or visit them in person just off I-80 and North 56th Street. Come be a part of the Gray difference.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known, but what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. But there are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
Okay, everybody. Ready to go caroling?
Are the people in your neighborhood nice?
Oh, you bet. Well, everybody except
Mr. Carpenter.
Now, come on, Jim. He's just a little cranky.
Are you kidding? Last year, he chased us down the street with a rake.
I'm sure he was just having a bad day. Now, here's his house. Everybody smile and get ready to run.
Well, hello, everyone. It's so great to see you all.
Are you okay, Mr. Carpenter?
Oh, yes. I just bought a bunch of Nebraska Lottery Holiday Classic scratch tickets. Until January 3rd, 2024, when you enter non-winning holiday tickets online, you have a chance to win $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000. Talk about a classic little Christmas. In fact, I'm so merry, I'd like to give you all some tickets.
Oh, what a nice gesture, Mr. Carpenter. Is there anything we can do for you?
Yeah, shovel my driveway. And don't sing.
Top prize odds vary by game.
So what's this new concept happening at 1040 O Street? There's 93.7 The Ticket, there's The Mill Coffee and Tea, and there's Grandma's Bake Shop and Beatrice Bakery? Well, yeah, it's all of those things. It's a place for the community to hang out, grab a drink and a bite, and just chill, or work, or meet, or chat, or whatever you want to do. 93.7 The Ticket, The Mill Coffee and Tea, Grandma's Bake Shop and Beatrice Bakery, all together at 1040 O Street.
This is where it happens. Long hikes with friends, kayaking adventures with family, more horseback riding, zipline gliding, rock face climbing, hammock camping fun than you could ever imagine. And it's all outdoors, amongst the trees and across the prairie, here beneath Nebraska skies. Plan an outing today at yournebraskaadventure.com. Sponsored by Nebraska Game and Parks, aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, Husker Rewind. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby. Every Sunday, 5 to 7. We'll continue through the football season and then into the basketball season. Nebraska takes on Lindenwood tomorrow night. Might even get in a Husker basketball breakdown.
I think we should.
Before-
Lindenwood Lions.
Well, see, that's more than I knew before I started the show.
I can tell you that they are in their second season of D1. They are from the Ohio Valley Conference. July 1st, 2022 was their inauguration date into Division One.
What's the betting line on that game right now?
I think Nebraska's favored by a lot.
There you go.
And they were
That's a good
11-21 last year, 6-12 in conference.
We will do our picks of density.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit later on. I think Tanya wants to be involved in this.
Yeah, and I'll explain to her what I did for her last week, and I think she'll be okay with it. I simply went with, for her, the better this season, RPI-wise, if I didn't know the two teams, the better volleyball team ranked in the RPI.
She picks her teams, the football teams, based on how good the volleyball program is.
Yeah.
And the first time she was 6-1-1 and beat the tar out of both of us.
Yep.
So she'll join us in later on this hour in about 20 minutes or so. Right now, time to get to the Blitz.
The Big Ten Blitz. The Big Ten Blitz. The Big Ten Blitz. The Big Ten Blitz.
Usually we divvy these up properly. I'll just let you take the first one, and I'll go from there, Mike.
All right. Well, since it's the first one on my list, I'm going to go Michigan, Purdue. J.J. McCarthy was 24 of 37 for 335 yards, and Blake Corum ran for 3 TDs as Michigan cruised by Purdue 41-13. Amid all of the outside noise, air quotes, Hudson Card was just as unspectacular as ever for Purdue. 12 of 28, 144 yards, a TD, and a pick. Purdue was 1 of 14 on third down. Michigan was 7 of 14. Kind of just a workmanlike performance for Michigan. I don't think they needed Purdue's plays to win this game by that much of a margin. Up next for the Fighting Connor Stallions, it is a matchup against Penn State next Saturday in Happy Valley. Finally get to see what Michigan looks like against a team that isn't great.
Interesting going into the week. Kyle, of course, Ryan Walters is the head coach at Purdue. Talked a lot about the scandal going on at Michigan, as every coach has to address if they play Michigan that week. And he goes, it's not whether we think we cheated or they cheated. We know they cheated.
Yeah.
And he took a lot of crap for it this week, but he's like, I'm just being honest. Well, they cheated.
The drive-by handshake post-game was fantastic.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
I actually thought Walters might just throw a quick right cross.
He should have. Somebody should. Ohio State, number 1 in the country, at least in the college football poll. And that's really all that really matters, the playoff poll at this point. They're 9-0. They beat Rutgers 35-16, really much closer than that. Rutgers threw basically a pick six type of thing, a 93-yard interception return from Ohio State, did them in because Rutgers was in control of that game. Really should have been up 17-6 at halftime, but because of that, the game got away from them in the second half. Travion Henderson had a nice game, 22 carries, 128 and a TD. Kyle McCord, the quarterback, 19 of 26 for 189 and 3 TDs and a pick. And Ohio State, they don't look like a juggernaut, but they certainly look like the best team right now in the Big Ten. In my opinion.
I don't think they look anywhere near as good as Michigan, but
Michigan hasn't played anybody.
I don't disagree, but if I'm just sitting there looking at the way they've played, and again, we know Michigan cheated in every game they've played this year, and they had the other team's signals, they still have looked like they are unbeatable to me.
Well, their strength of schedule, I think Michigan's strength of schedule is 121st in college football.
It might be.
It's really bad. So I don't know how good they are right now.
We'll find out more, though, when they play at Penn State next week. Indiana, a couple of teams snapped some losing streaks. Indiana picked up their first Big Ten win of the season, snapping a 6-game conference losing streak that dated back to last season. They upset Wisconsin up in Madison 20-14. Hoosier quarterback Brendan Sorsby ran for a score, threw for another. Indiana offense, second half. The Iowa offense may have been better in the second half than the Indiana offense was against Wisconsin. They managed 36 total yards and 3 points, but it was enough to knock off Wisconsin 2014. Wisconsin lost the time of possession battle, though, and this is kind of key, by about 7 minutes, and they also turned the ball over twice. They were penalized 8 times for 78 yards. Meanwhile, Indiana, no turnovers. They only had 2 penalties.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a key. Indiana is at Illinois next week. Wisconsin hosts Northwestern.
There you go. Penn State over Maryland, the foe of Nebraska this week, 51-15. It was not close. Drew Aller, 25 of 34. He had 4 TDs, 240 yards. Really looked good. Katron Allen, a rush for 91 yards and a TD. Talia Tagovailoa, 29 of 39, 286 and 2 TDs. He did have 1 pick, but Maryland's rushing game, there was nothing to it. I mean, literally, they couldn't do anything on the ground. In fact, they went backwards, minus 49 yards on the ground for Maryland. This week, Maryland and Nebraska and Penn State will host Michigan.
I didn't watch the game and go back and count for sure, but based on what I saw in stats and some other things I picked up, I believe Maryland only attempted 7 actual running plays.
And they lost 49 yards.
Yeah. Well, and because of that, the sacks came off of it. So
the sacks.
So I don't know if do you want to make fun of Iowa's offense, or do you want me to?
You can be my guest.
Okay.
I'll
let you do Minnesota, Illinois. Yeah. Iowa did it again. They win 10-7 on a 53-yard field goal by Drew Stevens, no relation to Tom Stevens, with 14 seconds left at Wrigley Field over Northwestern. About 9 million people predicted this would be a baseball score. Lo and behold, it was.
What was the over?
19.5 was the over-under at kickoff.
Goodness.
And I actually jumped on and I bet the under. And it paid off.
That was smart.
The game was as ugly as any college football game, with a combined total of 339 total yards between the two teams. Deacon Hill did complete 67% of his passes, going 10 of 15, but for only 65 yards with a touchdown and a pick. Next week, Northwestern goes to Wisconsin. Iowa hosts Rutgers. As we mentioned, Brian Ferentz got fired. I see he responded, with another quality offensive performance.
Yeah.
With,
right.
that 170 yards and 10 whole points.
I saw something that going into this week, they would have to, because he's still on staff, even though he's fired, he's coaching the rest of their games. They would have had to have, I think, scored 42 points and averaged over 500 yards of offense every week for him to keep his job.
Based on the criteria?
Yeah, that's right. So 10 points doesn't do it. I think they would have to, now average 700 points for the rest of the weeks. I don't know what it is, but I know he's
done anyway.
It doesn't really matter. But what if he did match that? I mean, they would have to bring him back. If they win the West, it's going to be a little awkward that he's not back, and it looks like they're going to win the West. Illinois over Minnesota, 27-26. Boy, John Paddock came off the bench and replaced the injured Luke Altmaier. He tosses a 46-yard touchdown with just 50 seconds left, and they win in heroic style there, 27-26. Illinois has actually played pretty well. They've given a couple of games away. They should be much better than their 4-5 record. Minnesota drops to 5-4. But again, Illinois now with Luke Altmaier out, it'll be interesting to see how much John Paddock plays going forward. But Illinois now will host Indiana next week, and Minnesota is at Purdue.
How about that? The dude is a 6th-year senior from Ball State, transfers in, just living the dream. He loves it in Champaign, having a great time, carrying a clipboard, has all kinds of baseball hats now to wear, as he's signaling in plays. Altmaier goes down. Oh, by the way, it's 4th and 11, and there's a minute 24 to play.
Right. That's crazy.
Throws a dart, 15 yards, throws a dart, 20 yards, throws a touchdown pass, 46 yards.
3 for 3.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
that was awesome. And congratulations, Illinois. That might be the Nebraska's best win right now. Illinois. I mean, Illinois is a pretty good football team with a win over Maryland. Hopefully Nebraska can recreate that. Illinois is the team that probably should have won the West last year. But they've let a few get away that they didn't last year.
Yep.
So there you go. Ranking the teams, it's pretty easy for me. Ohio State, I think, is number 1 in the league, followed by Michigan and Penn State. Iowa, you got to put them at 4, just because they're 7-2 and probably going to win the West. After that, Rutgers is 5th for me. And then at 6th, I've got Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Nebraska all tied for 6th. Maryland at 7, Michigan State, Indiana, Northwestern at 8, and then Purdue.
I've got Indiana last, actually.
Yeah. Well, Indiana's coming off a win, so they're hot.
True.
Yeah.
Maybe I need to move Purdue down to last. I don't know. Here's the way I've got it. I've got Michigan at 1, Ohio State 2, Penn State 3, Iowa 4, and then tied for 5th, Rutgers, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Minnesota, Maryland, Illinois, Northwestern, and then tied for 12th, Purdue, Michigan State, and Indiana.
I like that. I mean, it really doesn't. The first three all have a chance to make the college football playoff still, I think.
Yeah, Penn State's going to have to win out
and then win the championship.
Yeah, so they'll have to.
But a one-loss Big Ten team is going to make the playoff, right?
Yeah. If one of those three wins out, they're obviously in the playoff. And the honest to goodness truth is, if Michigan is not banned from the postseason by Tony Petitti in the Big Ten,
and they won't be, because that would cost the Big Ten $50 million or whatever the college football playoff pays right now.
But realistically, the loser, for the sake of argument, whoever does not make the Big Ten title game out of the East that only has one loss may very well wind up in the college football playoff.
The new rankings come out on Tuesday. Ohio State currently is number 1 in the college football playoff, followed by Georgia, Michigan, Florida State, and then you've got Washington and Oregon rounding out the top 6. Who do you think makes the college football playoff at this point? I mean, obviously, Ohio State, Michigan, the winner there eliminates the other, right?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No. Same thing that happened last year. You had Michigan beat Ohio State, but Ohio State still got in the playoff.
A lot of people have dropped Michigan out of the top 5 just because of their strength of schedule. But if they beat Ohio State, they're in the college football playoff. I think because of their strength of schedule, if they lose to Ohio State, they might be out.
Very possible.
They might be, but I don't know.
But again, if Penn State knocks off Michigan this Saturday and then runs the table and wins the East and the
then they're
the
in.
Big Ten title, then they're in. And you also wonder if a one-loss Ohio State team then gets in if Michigan knocks them off.
I don't see this is normally it's Georgia or Alabama or somebody along those lines, a Clemson that's just so dominant. And usually it's those teams, Clemson, Florida, or Georgia, Alabama. Those teams are so dominant that almost every year they make the college football playoff. This year, you don't have a juggernaut. Even Georgia, I don't see and they've won 26 in a row or something like that.
Georgia's looked really much more susceptible than they have the last 2 years.
Yeah, they 30-21 over Missouri this weekend.
Yeah. And quite honestly, it's a game where you talk about a game that you had opportunity after opportunity. That was Missouri, and they just didn't capitalize. They didn't get it done.
Yeah.
I think the run ends for Georgia. The thing is, I could still see them winning a natty with one loss, but the loss coming either in the SEC title game or somebody upsets them before that.
We mentioned Michigan. Do you think they're safe? I mean, because the scandal is there. We all know they did it. They sent a guy around the college football campuses and they videotaped signs, and they knew what was coming. And I think at first I thought this was, who cares? This is not that big of a deal. Now I think about it. It's what Matt Rule said. I don't have a problem if you look up and steal my sign, because everybody does that. If I know what the sign is and I look up and I steal it, that's a big deal. Everybody does that. But when you're going on campuses and videotaping signals and trying to clarify what they are when they're calling a certain thing, and you know them so well that you're in the right defense every single time, that's a problem.
Well, no, and like I had this discussion on Friday night with somebody who didn't understand the rule, didn't know.
Yeah.
They said, what's the big deal? Everybody does it. They do it in high school. They do it in the pros, blah, blah, blah. And I go, no, they don't. They don't do it in the NCAA. In 1993, they made it illegal.
Right.
They were trying to cut costs as well for schools. But at the same time, they said you can no longer go, you can no longer scout in person, and you cannot, under any circumstance, videotape live from the stadium of an opposing team's game.
Sure.
You cannot, period, end of story, end of day.
And Matt Rule explains it. Just get radio waves in the helmet.
Yeah.
Be able to talk to your quarterback in the helmet. That solves all the problem. And I've heard James Franklin say it doesn't really solve all the problems because a lot of teams are spread teams that don't huddle. So they still have to get their signals from the sidelines in many cases. It's the teams that huddle that would be at a big advantage over the ones that don't. I don't know what the right answer is, but it seems like high schools use the technology, the NFL uses the technology, and college football is stuck in 1952.
Well, and somebody came out to defend the NCAA, and they said, well, yeah, but there's a chance that it could void the warranty on the helmets. And I go, oh, so the NCAA uses helmets that are different from what high school football and the NFL do. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah. So,
no.
no.
Yeah, just get It seems like it's time, be able to
No, I
talk to your
agree.
quarterback.
Well, and they're going
Get
to
that done.
they're going to in the bowl games that are not college football playoff games.
Yeah.
But at the same time, here's the funny thing. It's been well documented on this show that on occasion I will place a wager. I would place a wager that Michigan is doing exactly what they were doing. I believe they have people in stadiums right now videotaping the signals of other teams.
Yeah.
I think they are just finally not allowing an idiot to run the program. I mean, like, don't tell me that they didn't send somebody to, they were at Indiana, I believe, right?
Right.
Because it wasn't a Happy Valley. Don't tell me there was not somebody from Michigan at that game, very inconspicuously not wearing Michigan gear, not in a ticket.
Khakis?
Not wearing Michigan gear, not in seats purchased by somebody associated with the university on their university credit card. I mean, I would, if I was a wagering man, and I would bet $1 that they are still doing it.
Well, you are a wagering man, and that's why we do the picks of density. We'll be doing that within the next 15 minutes. Mike likes to go through all the games, and we do them. We break them down. Tanya Taki will join us for that particular segment.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to talk volleyball with her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Should we do that next? Should we jump to her early? Or are we pretty much on time for it?
I think we're right on time.
Yeah, that's so weird. How are you and I on time?
Yeah, we were exactly on time. Look at us go. Tanya Taki, one of the great middle blockers in Nebraska volleyball history, and also the head coach at Nebraska One, a great high school program, a club program. We'll talk to her about Husker volleyball. Swept today. No problem with Rutgers today, but that Maryland game on Friday night was fun. We'll talk about it coming up next with Tanya.
Gray Diesel and Equipment Services is hiring and seeking motivated applicants. Gray offers a second-to-none benefit package that includes health, dental, vision, 401k, paid vacation, and paid holidays. They offer great pay and tuition reimbursement or a tool purchase program for qualified candidates. It's a fun, friendly team with lots of variety and work assignments, so there's something for everybody. View and apply for their job openings today at grayusa.com or visit them in person just off I-80 and North 56th Street. Come be a part of the Gray difference.
Whether you're booking a trip to Lincoln for a football game or a volleyball weekend, the Scarlet Hotel at Innovation Campus is the place for you. The Scarlet Hotel is special on many levels, from the delicious Well and Good restaurant on the main floor to the coolest rooftop patio bar in Lincoln, the Barred Owl, on the top floor of the hotel with great views of the city and one of the coolest drink menus. Book your stay or book a staycation today at scarlethotelnebraska.com.
So what's this new concept happening at 1040 O Street? There's 93.7 The Ticket, there's the Mill Coffee and Tea, and there's Grandma's Bake Shop and Beatrice Bakery? Well, yeah, it's all of those things. It's a place for the community to hang out, grab a drink and a bite, and just chill, or work, or meet, or chat, or whatever you want to do. 93.7 The Ticket, the Mill Coffee and Tea, Grandma's Bake Shop and Beatrice Bakery, all together at 1040 O Street.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. At 4 a.m, my phone rang. They said, "I regret to inform you that your husband was wounded in action." Victor sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. I was doing school full-time, and I was also then caring for Victor. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. I just didn't want to forget that I also had goals and that I also had a life. What I did is I challenged Victor to meet me halfway. There are almost 6 million military and veteran caregivers across the nation. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey and better care for your loved one and yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend. Early break with Sip and Jake.
In my opinion, Nebraska is still in the driver's seat. Wow. To win this thing. They're in the driver's seat.
That would be incredible.
If Wisconsin hadn't lost it's Braylon in a high ankle sprain, you don't play again that year. I mean, losing him is monumental.
It'll be interesting to see a team that's missed so many bowl games in a row to how they could handle potentially having the mentality of being in the driver's seat.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
Eagle chassis are back and better than ever. New owner Mike Boston, who has been building Eagle chassis for the last 2.5 years, will be using the same high-quality raw materials and equipment that Eagle chassis have always been made with. Located in Lincoln, Nebraska, Eagle Motorsports LLC will continue to provide sprint car teams with the safest, most durable chassis there are. They will give drivers the strength, flexibility, and durability that they need to win on race night. If you're looking for a new chassis or need repairs made to your current one, call Mike at 402-826-0302.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Some smooth blues for you coming back
So
into this segment of Husker Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket, theticketfm.com. Joining us on the Allo VIP line, which is brought to you by Allo Fiber, where they understand the importance of exceptional service with local heart, is Tanya Taki, who is fresh off of a plane that... we lost Tanya.
Did we lose her? You can call her back, Ben. Please. Thank you.
I was going to say she's fresh off a plane from Happy Valley.
He needs the number.
I was going to say, go take care of that. And we'll go over what has happened in the last, we'll say 72 hours, because it was Friday night when Nebraska traveled out to Happy Valley to take on Penn State. It was a game that wound up being, let's face it, Nebraska and Penn State have had some monumental, memorable, unbelievable matches over the course of the years. And I go back 6 or 7 years ago. I don't remember the exact year that it was, but Nebraska falls down 2-0 to Penn State, and they storm back and win in 5. And that repeated itself on Friday night as Nebraska comes back after losing the first 2 sets.
I'm trying to think back. When they beat Penn State in the NCAA tournament, remember that back? I'm trying to think back. Was it 2020 or 2021? And they were down 2-0.
Well, that's what I was just talking about. Yeah.
It was. I was trying to think back. Was
that that was more 16 or 17.
Was
maybe even before that? It may have been 14 or 15.
Okay.
Because I know where I was working, because I know that one of my coworkers almost got fired because she had stuff to do and she would not leave the lunchroom because that game was on.
Yeah.
And her boss came in and literally said, if you don't get back to work, then today's your last day. And she goes, expletive, couple of nice words, 4 more expletives, and said, fire me.
That's funny. I remember being on the air because that was like an afternoon game, and our show was on the Ticket at that time. And it was Happer and Stevens. And I remember saying, we're coming back. And I remember the text line going crazy with people saying, man, you just jinxed us. Tom, you just jinxed us. We're not coming back. Or you can't say that out loud, like a baseball thing where you can't say that out loud. And I go, why can't I say that out loud? Then they came back and they won that match in the NCAA tournament 3-2. And nobody gave me credit for it.
I'll give you credit.
They didn't backtrack and say, no, I guess you didn't jinx us. It was a good thing that you said it. And maybe I'll credit you for the win, but nobody did. They just accused me of jinxing them.
What's Tanya say?
She's here, I believe.
I'm here.
Yeah. Do you remember that Penn State comeback? That was great.
I don't remember it being Penn State. I remember it being Minnesota in the regional finals. We were down 0-2 to Minnesota and came back.
Maybe my misremembering. I thought it was Penn State.
I know there was a Penn State
because
game.
it was Kyla Rorig from Papillion.
All right.
And me and my parents were standing on tables at this bar, just screaming at the TV because we were coming back.
How much screaming was done on Friday night when Nebraska came back?
You know, I was actually at the game.
Yep.
And my friend texted me about the middle of the second set, and said, please do something. And so I started the Go Big Red cheer every time Penn State was serving, because that's when the crowd was quiet enough to hear us. And so my kidneys hurt afterwards just from the yelling. And I gave the guy in front of me my earplugs because I was screaming in his ear.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's what happened.
That is so awesome.
Yeah, that
So-
place was nuts.
We were talking a little last hour, a little bit about Merritt Beeson and her, the way she plays and the way she just expects people to look to her to help lead the team to a win. Like she wants to own it. She wants to wear it. And she reminds me of some of the others that have done this throughout Nebraska volleyball history. I think the last one that truly was, you just sat there and went, we need you to just kind of put us on your back and go, is Michaela Fecky. But Merritt Beeson just absolutely takes over in the third, fourth, and fifth sets. And one of the best performances I think I've seen in, I can't even describe how long. How was it live?
I mean, I think that it was also that we started serving inbounds and tougher. Like that definitely helps because they weren't getting free balls. Like the first 10 points or 12 points of the first set, we were just like barely getting the ball over the net, and it was just easy, and we weren't even touching their blocks. And I think we just started to be a little bit more aggressive, and when the setter on the other side couldn't get sets, couldn't get the ball in front of the 10-foot line, that made a huge difference in the game. But I mean, obviously when you're talking about Merritt Beeson, she has a very good composure. She's very positive. She's very strong. She's physical. She's graceful. She's like all of the things. And to think that she left Florida because she wasn't going to be the starting right side hitter because they had their 6'6" girl coming in. I mean, I can't imagine Merritt Beeson being on the bench.
No. Tanya Taki, one of the great middle blockers in Nebraska volleyball history and the head coach at Nebraska 1 as well. This team really enjoys playing on the road. Merritt Beeson has talked about it. In fact, I think a couple of fans here and there maybe bristled a little bit. She says, I almost like playing on the road more than the Devaney Center. I love the Devaney Center, love the home crowd, but I like the fact that it's us against the world. You felt that against Stanford. You felt that on Friday night at Penn State. Were you like that? Or did you feel that same way in college that you'd almost rather at times play on the road?
I mean, I think the only thing that I would say that I liked about being on the road, because back when I played, there was no phones or anything. And so then, like, we were on, in the buses and in the airplanes and all those things, like it was major team bonding. And then you also got a different roommate, quote unquote roommate, like your hotel roommate was different than your like living in roommate. And so it was just, I liked the traveling because of the team bonding, not necessarily. I actually didn't like playing at Texas Tech, at Texas A&M, at Texas. We were in the Big 12, so we had to do that every single year. We played away and home for every team. And it was just like feeling hunted, like it just was the weirdest. I just didn't like it. I mean, it was fun to go in and dominate them, but just, I wasn't a fan of just that feeling of they hate me and all it is that I'm wearing a different color than them,
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've never felt hunted until I went to Texas in a red Husker jersey.
Interesting. One of the players that plays your position didn't play in the second game last weekend, second match last weekend. That's Becca Alec. And she's one that when she's on, and when she's off, it almost seems like she tries too hard and she presses. And I don't know why she didn't play. I'm assuming it was a coach's decision. Maggie Middleton came in, gave quality rotations. But Becca Alec this week, I thought both Friday and today was one of the better stretch of 2 games she's had. Your thoughts on her play the last 2 matches?
I mean, I think that he wants to get Mendelson playing time. We need to have another player that can step in at any time, and just have her just sit on the bench all season is just tough. And I think playing against Rutgers, they thought that would be a good game to get Maggie some reps in. She's not the fastest laterally, where Becca can get to closing those blocks a lot faster. But I think Maggie getting those reps is good for the team in general. I think they keep Andy Jackson in because she just needs more playing time. She just isn't as seasoned as Becca is. But I just think Becca is a very emotional player. And so sometimes when you're playing those big emotional, big, you know, adrenaline matches, it's hard for her to go back to back. And so it was Wisconsin then Rutgers. Is that right?
Yeah.
No, it was Maryland then Rutgers. So I don't know. They picked the match that you needed Becca in there more for, and then gave her a night off. Just so, I mean, it's a big load for her to have such emotion all the time. And I know Lainey Choboy is the same way, but she's also playing a position where she's not running and jumping on every single play and being that emotional.
It feels like Allie has struggled and did struggle over the weekend a little bit. There have been times when she's been really good and other times when not so good. And I'm wondering, with Lindsay Krause being out, has actually maybe hurt her a little bit, not having that competition on a daily basis in practice. Do you think that's possible?
I mean, I think Allie just wants to be, she just wants to be trusted, I guess is the word, you know, like trust me to make this happen. I don't know how much of, you know, what's happening when Allie makes a mistake is Allie's fault, honestly. Some of those balls that she hits straight down into the block, like that's really her only option besides maybe throwing it high. I mean, some of those sets are just yeesh. When, you know, she just gets tight, the setter gets tight, and then there's nothing happening, you know? And so I think in general, I think Allie puts up a better block than Krause. I think Allie can, you know, reaches a little bit higher, but what I like about Krause is her energy kind of takes a little bit of the load off of Becca when she's in there. I think Krause kind of has that like boxer mentality, just ready for a fight, just big energy. And so I mean, I like Allie. She's done great. She hasn't like made it a step too down for us. We've obviously won some huge matches with her in, so I think she's getting the job done, and I'm glad she's on our team.
Hey, Tanya, looking ahead to next week, we're to the point now where there's only one more match that everybody's got circled, and every other match is, oh my gosh, is this a trap match or whatever? But they're back in the friendly confines on Wednesday against Northwestern, next Sunday against Illinois. What are your thoughts leading into these two games?
I mean, I think what we need to work on it, just from what I was watching and seeing so far, is just trying to get us in a groove and a rhythm with our setter-hitter connections, and also working on our deep cover, like being able to cover our hitters against a good block. Serving consistency. I mean, we have a lot that we need to work on going into the tournament. And so I'm just hoping that the teams that we're playing leading up to the Wisconsin game are challenging us in some of those areas, or, you know, we're able to mimic some of those things in practice. I think Jordan Larson is going to be coming into practices now, start swinging at them, start blocking them, start, you know, just adding another level of competition on the other side. And just hopefully they're taking that next step on some of the consistency and some of those connections leading into Wisconsin.
Elaborate on that a little bit with Jordan Larson jumping in and having a more hands-on where, I mean, if you're Becca Alec, Jordan Larson is now going to come at you and try to get a ball past you. And as she's doing it, she's going to explain it. How tough do you think it is for the young ladies on the team to put aside who Jordan Larson is and just absorb what she's trying to tell them and teach them?
Right. I mean, I think one of the main things, like when I talk to Jordan about like what she's working on with her team, you know, what she's bringing to the table, is that she's really working with them on using the block. Just talking about the men's games, they call it a recycle, where if you don't get a good set, you kind of play it into the block like you were going to play it into like a wall, that you would play it back as a free ball. Like you play it into the block nicely and then pass that smash again. They call that a recycle when you don't get a good set and there's a huge block. And then you can tell and you can watch her. She's really working on them using the block, especially against Wisconsin. So they're at the end of the Penn State game. Harper Murray hit a ball off the left hand of the outside hitter, and it was a kill for us in the fifth set. And Jordan like jumped off the bench like she was in the game. And that's because that's what she's working with her on, is like, this is your shot. This is your shot. This is your shot. And I know that she's in there at practice talking about this is what you can do. But I think if she actually gets in there and practices and shows them, and then they're blocking against her and she does it, and they're like, okay, yeah, that's really hard to defend. Like, oh yeah, you're using me. Okay, that makes sense. Like, I think that just adds a higher level of understanding when she actually does what she's trying to get you to do to you. And so I think that'll be exciting to see another level of our outside hitters being able to have one more, tool in the tool belt on what we can do against a big block, because that's what's going to happen against Florida if we play them. That will happen against Wisconsin if we play them. Obviously Penn State has a really great block. Like, what are we doing against teams that can block really well to score just 2 points better?
Yeah. It's fun seeing Jordan Larson as a coach on this team. I heard the story the other night at Penn State that the security had to get girls away from Jordan Larson because they kept coming up to her to ask for her autograph. I mean, she's that much of a star on the college scene, and it's cool to see now that she's using some of that knowledge to coach at Nebraska. But hey, we got to do our picks of density. We do our picks based on football. We're picking football picks, but you base them on your volleyball teams, on the volleyball teams.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I think you owe me sushi from the last time I went 6-1.
6-1.
I picked Oklahoma to lose.
That's right. Yeah, we might wait until the end of the season so we don't have to get you sushi every week. Every single week.
Well, now I want to throw this out since we missed you last week. I went ahead and picked for you based on the RPI rankings or whatever the computer rankings are for the volleyball programs, if I didn't already know.
Okay.
There you go.
So you went 4-4 with that last week. I gave you Wake Forest over Duke, Clemson over Notre Dame, Kansas State over Texas, Purdue over Michigan.
Kansas State over Texas.
Sorry. Texas over K-State.
Wait a minute.
No. So yeah, that was my fault. I was looking at K-State at Texas. So I gave you Texas over K-State, although K-State won the game. So that was one of your losses this last week.
Yeah.
I gave you Purdue over Michigan, USC over Washington. Based historically, I think they're neck and neck, but this year Washington is down. I gave you LSU over Alabama, Northwestern over Iowa, and obviously Nebraska over Michigan State.
How did we do?
So last week, Tom went 5-3. I went 3-5, and Tanya, you were in the middle. You went 4-4, basing everything on the rankings for volleyball.
She still leads.
Overall she still leads. She's 10-5-1.
All right. Well, let's do our picks of density next. We'll take a commercial break and come back right after this.
Is your backyard ready for fun with friends and family this fall? GE Landscape Supply has pavers and boulders, which are a great accent for any landscaping project. And you can find them at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction materials. And don't forget, they deliver anywhere, nearby or far away. Stop by at 6701 Cornhusker Highway from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday. Go to gelandscapesupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627.
The Southern Pecan Cake from Beatrice Bakery. They don't just let you call anything Southern, especially when it's baked right here in Nebraska. There are standards you have to meet, like a rich, decadent, moist caramel cake? Check. Bursting with too many large pecans to count? Check. Big enough to share with the whole group? Check. But delicious enough that you won't want to share? A big check on that one. The Southern Pecan Cake, the newest cake to the Beatrice Bakery lineup. Try it for yourself at Beatrice Bakery. Online at BeatriceBakery.com. Welcome to our world of yum.
This is Rick Heyman, president of Sartor Heyman Jewelers. My father, Don, always insisted that Sartor Heyman never compromise. Not on quality, not on value, and not on customer service. For that reason, you can be sure that every item of jewelry you purchase from Sartor Heyman is the very best, no matter how small or how large. When it comes to jewelry, if we don't have it, you don't want it. Sartor Heyman Jewelers, Lincoln and Grand Island, and SartorHeyman.com.
Whether you're booking a trip to Lincoln for a football game or a volleyball weekend, the Scarlet Hotel at Innovation Campus is the place for you. The Scarlet Hotel is special on many levels, from the delicious Well and Good restaurant on the main floor to the coolest rooftop patio bar in Lincoln, the Barred Owl, on the top floor of the hotel with great views of the city and one of the coolest drink menus. Book your stay or book a staycation today at scarlethotelnebraska.com.
School bus drivers, custodians, paraeducators, and the list goes on of all the education support professionals who help every school in Nebraska run smoothly. They ensure that our students have a safe ride to school, healthy meals, and a clean environment to learn. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. Take a moment to say thank you to the support staff at your child's school.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
This is Sunday Rewind on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Tom Stevens, Mike Melby, Husker Rewind. Joined on the line by Tanya Taki. She's going to help us do our picks of density. We usually choose about 7 games every week, including the Nebraska game. We do ours based on the football team because we're talking about football, and Tanya likes to make her picks based on how good the volleyball program is. So here we go.
And Tanya, what we said that week that you were in studio with us, where we're like, you know what, she's probably going to kick our butt, and you did. So
yep.
And at the end of the year, we're going to probably owe her sushi. She's a big sushi girl. Do you like sushi?
Oh yeah, I love sushi.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, there's a couple of good places in town, so we'll go have sushi if she wins it all.
The Flaming Tiger.
We'll go
is
somewhere
coming.
anyway. All right, here's our picks of density.
It's time now for the picks of density.
Because it's a pain, a destiny.
Wait, it says density on here.
I'm your density.
Oh, I get it. Because your picks carry a lot of weight, right?
That's some heavy shit, man.
All right, let's roll with it. The picks of density.
All righty. First game, Florida at LSU. LSU is a 13-point favorite. Tom, who do you have?
Florida has just come off a loss to Arkansas in overtime, 39-36, and LSU lost to Alabama 42-28.
And who should win the Heisman was injured in the game.
That's a lot of points. That's 12 points. And Florida, I think, is playing okay. I'm going to say LSU wins the game, but not by 12 points. So I'll take Florida in the points.
Tanya, what do you say?
I think Florida.
All righty.
Good, very good volleyball program. There you
It
go.
is. If LSU,
I know they lost their setter, but they got that 6'6" freshman, and she's pretty salty.
She's salty. They lost Merritt Beeson to Nebraska, though.
Yeah.
Right.
That hurt.
Yep.
Ole Miss at Georgia. Georgia favored only by 11.5. I thought this would have been more, but Georgia favored by 11.5. They play at home against Ole Miss.
Let's see. Ole Miss is coming off a win over Texas A&M. Close. I think it was in overtime, 38-35. Georgia beat Missouri 30-21. That's a lot of points again. I like Ole Miss to cover 11.5.
Tanya.
I'm picking Georgia. I know Georgia's done some. I've seen them come across as taking down somebody, like having an upset, but I haven't heard anything about Ole Miss this season.
All righty, fair enough. For the record, I'm going to take Georgia and give the points. Michigan at Penn State, the big game in the Big Ten next weekend. I have a hunch where Tanya's going to go with this one.
I mean, I'm going to have to go with Penn State. I mean, they've got to get a win here in the next. I mean, they've gotten so close. They just deserve a win. Those girls are seniors and super seniors. They need a win.
And they got knocked off today at Purdue in 5 sets.
I saw that.
Yep.
Wow. And they're coming off in football a thrashing over Maryland, 51-15. I think Penn State could win this outright. I don't trust Michigan and that's easy schedule. 6.5, I think Penn State definitely covers.
Okay.
For sure, at home. I'm taking Penn State.
All righty. Tennessee at Missouri. The points on this one is only 1.5. Missouri favored by 1.5. It's that home field.
Tanya?
I mean, I think Tennessee this year is having a pretty good season, and I really haven't heard anything about anything good happening in Missouri. And maybe that's because I don't pay that much of attention to their conference, but I'm going with Tennessee.
Missouri's playing really well, but so is Tennessee. They're really pretty good this year in the East, right? So They both have a chance to win that Eastern Division. Tennessee coming off a big win over UConn. Missouri fell, but Georgia's really good. It's only 1.5. I think Missouri at home wins. I'm going to take Missouri.
I've got to go against Missouri just because I don't like Missouri.
Well, there you go.
So
that's always a good reason to go against.
Exactly. Minnesota at Purdue. This one is going to be kind of tough, I think, for Tanya to pick. Tanya, what do you think?
Yeah.
Purdue is getting 3.5. So Minnesota favored by 3.5 against Purdue.
Well, I mean, Minnesota should beat them. Like, I don't know what is going on in Minnesota. I know they're having a brand new coaching staff, but they have, the best player in the Big Ten and their Shaftmaster setter. I mean, I know that Purdue's probably going to beat them, but I just really feel like Minnesota is has got to finish strong at the end. So I'm going to go with Minnesota.
I'm going to go with Minnesota as well. I just think Purdue's not very good. Minnesota's coming off a loss to Illinois. Purdue was beaten badly by Michigan, only 3.5. I think Minnesota wins easily, actually.
All righty. Next game, Northwestern at Wisconsin. The line on this changed from opening at, I believe, 7. It is up to 11.5. Wisconsin is favored by 11.5 over Northwestern.
Braylon Allen is out, right? For the remainder of the season for Wisconsin.
Tanner Mordecai is out as well.
Vegas usually knows something, but now it's up to 11. You said
11.5.
I think that's a lot of points, and I'm going to take Northwestern. Tanya,
Wisconsin.
I was going to say there's no explanation needed on that one.
No explanation needed.
No.
All righty, and the last game that is not Nebraska and Maryland. Rutgers at Iowa, and we are not going point spread here. We are going over under total points scored by the two teams combined of 28.5.
Wow.
Last week it was 19.5. Northwestern and Iowa.
You're not going point
kickoff,
spread.
And it went under. No point spread on this. This is over under. Tanya, it's the same for you. You're picking the volleyball school you think would win anyway. So, but for Tom and I, it's based on the total points scored in the game.
I think it's going to be Iowa that wins.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? Am I under or over?
We're going to, for you, we're going to just let you call that.
Okay.
As Iowa's the win.
I'm going to go under.
You're going to go under? I'm going to go under as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go under.
All righty. And then the big one in Lincoln, 11 a.m. next week on Peacock. No, I'm not going to get a subscription. I'm going to go find a bar and watch it. Maryland at Nebraska. Right now, Maryland is a 2.5-point favorite.
I like Nebraska. I like Nebraska to win by 10. I really do. I don't know why. I just think Matt Rule will have him bounce back. What do you think, Tanya?
I think it's a sweep, Nebraska.
Nice.
It's a sweep. It's an absolute sweep. All right.
All righty.
Good stuff.
Tanya, thank you so much for sticking around to do the points, the picks of density. We've actually, I think we just wrap it up at the end of the regular season. And so then we'll start settling some sushi and some pops.
Sounds great.
We're definitely good to pay it off. We'll pay it off for sure.
All right, perfect.
All right. There you go, Tanya.
All right, have a good night.
All right,
we'll talk
take care.
to you
Thanks.
next week. There's the picks of density with Tanya Taki, one of the great middle blockers in Nebraska volleyball history, and the head coach at Nebraska 1, and very entertaining on the radio as well.
She really is. We've got like about 5 minutes left, and you and I have a passion for a sport here that people laugh at and look down on, just like they did my Texas Rangers for 63 years. And it's Nebraska men's basketball. And I kind of want to talk a little bit about that.
Sure.
If we can.
Absolutely.
The mighty Lindenwood Lions are coming to town tomorrow night. 7 p.m. tip at the Vault. Lindenwood moved to Division I July 1st of last year. So they're in their second season as a Division I program. They're in the Ohio Valley Conference, where they finished 6-12 in conference play last year. Overall, they were 11-21. They took on quite a few schools last year that were solid. My laptop died, so I can't pull up their schedule again. But they took on some Power 5 schools. They normally lost by about 30. I don't know that that's going to be a whole lot different this year. But let's focus on the team that they're playing against.
Yeah.
Fred Hoiberg and the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
A lot of injuries. I'm a little. Keisei probably will not play. I'm guessing Keisei Tamanaga with the ankle sprain. It doesn't look like it's as serious as we first thought, but he will not play. Rink Mass is coming off, getting beat up.
Yeah.
He was coming out of a concert and got beat up by a couple of guys. It sounds like he's recovering, but had a broken nose related to that. Josiah Alec has been coming off injury as well. So I'm just wondering how many guys play. I think that Nebraska is obviously going to have enough to beat Lindenwood regardless. Jawan Gary has been suspended.
Yeah, he's not going to play.
I don't think he's playing, but there's still enough there. I'm actually interested to see if Nebraska goes small tomorrow night and how small they go.
Well, they might. And I think a lot of it is especially, they go completely small if Matar Diop is not available. because I don't believe Blaze Cada is going to play.
No, Blaze Cada probably won't play for. I mean, he's just starting to shoot, right? I mean, he's
still not really doing anything with that ankle.
He's not doing a lot of live work at practice, so I think he's maybe at least a couple of weeks away.
Yeah, I think Ramel Lloyd is still a couple of weeks away as well. He had kind of a setback. I'll be honest with you. I think the person that leads us in scoring tomorrow night is going to be the guy that led us in scoring on every game overseas and against Doan. It's going to be Eli Rice.
You really, I'm big on Eli Rice as well. There was some debate as to whether or not they're going to redshirt that guy. I know Fred had talked about it. I think he's now played himself into that. No, we're not going to redshirt that guy because he's just too talented.
Well, it was funny last year. I continued to say throughout the season when we would talk about this year and what Nebraska has coming in, it's like, well, we don't know for sure what they're going to get in the portal. Even after we found out what they're going to get in the portal, I'm like, don't count out Eli Rice. You guys are missing the boat. Like, you're not understanding. He's playing on one of the best high school teams in the country, and he is their best player. He's a guy that should be going to Duke.
Yeah.
Okay. He's coming to Nebraska. He's a quality young man, and I think he's going to make a difference this year for him.
I agree. I just think there's an adjustment period to the Big Ten. You've already heard that story with Josiah Alec. He's kind of beating him up in practice just to let him know what it's like in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Not in a malicious way, but talking about rebounding. He's like, he's trying to high school rebound on me. And I'm going to nudge him out of the lane to let him know that in fact, not nudge him. I'm going to hit him to get him out of the lane.
And understand a nudge from Josiah Alec when he's going after a rebound and you wind up in the third row.
Yeah.
So
I think there's going to be that learning curve that he's going to have to adjust.
I get it, but at the end of the day, I think his just sheer ability is going to take over.
And then my other concern is the point guard position. I think Jamarcus Lawrence is going to attach himself to that position and take hold of it. And then you've got Boogie Cousins, Jerron
Coleman,
Boogie Cousins, Jerron Coleman, Boogie Coleman, and I think that he's one of those guys that could do it as well. I think Sam Hoiberg could see a little time.
I think he will. The one thing with Boogie that I guess I like more than just about anything else I heard about him, if you want to flip over to 3, Tom, on that, on the camera.
Yeah.
He wanted to come here to be a facilitator. Like, he didn't want to come here and be a guy that scores 16, 17, 18 points a game. He wants to come here, win, and be a facilitator.
Yeah.
And I think that mentality coming in is going to allow him to be much better at being a facilitator than asking someone who doesn't want to do it or is like, yeah, I guess I'll be a team guy.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Jamarcus Lawrence, though, he's always been a 2. He wants to do it as well. So I'm looking forward to this.
Well, this is a big year, obviously, for Fred Hoiberg. He's got to make the postseason in some way or fashion. And I think they will. I think this team, similar to last year, full of experience, the most experienced team in the Big Ten.
Yep.
I think they're going to be a good team. Will they make the tournament? We'll find out. I'll be able to tell you pretty early in the season, I think.
Same here.
Yep. All right. We'll see you next week.
See you, Tom.
See you, Mikey. Bye-bye.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Whether you're booking a trip to Lincoln for a football game or a volleyball weekend, the Scarlet Hotel at Innovation Campus is the place for you. The Scarlet Hotel is special on many levels, from the delicious Well and Good restaurant on the main floor to the coolest rooftop patio bar in Lincoln, the Barred Owl, on the top floor of the hotel with great views of the city and one of the coolest drink menus. Book your stay or book a staycation today at scarlethotelnebraska.com.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff